June 9, 2020, a company that has never sold a single truck, never generated $1 of revenue. A company that exists almost entirely on promises, renderings, and the extraordinary charisma of one man. That morning, its stock price touched $93.99 per share. Its market capitalization, almost $30 billion. More than Ford Motor Company, a manufacturer with a 117-year history, 100,000 employees, millions of vehicles sold every year. 3 months later, that $30 billion had turned to smoke. The founder was facing federal fraud charges, and the most hyped IPO of 2020 was on its way to becoming one of the most devastating collapses in the history of financial markets. His name was Trevor Milton, born in a small town in Utah. No engineering degree, no background in automotive, no MBA from Harvard or Stanford. What he had was something far more dangerous in the hands of the wrong person. An extraordinary gift for selling a vision. In 2015, he founded Nikola Motor Company in Salt Lake City, initially known as Blugentech. With just $2 million from an industrial investor, he renamed it after Nikola Tesla, the Serbian-American inventor who dreamed of a world powered by clean, infinite energy. The ambition was breathtaking: to revolutionize the entire heavy-duty trucking industry, semi-trucks powered by hydrogen fuel cells, zero emissions, the end of diesel, a complete reinvention of how goods move across America and the world. It was the kind of vision that made investors lean forward, that made headlines write themselves, and Trevor Milton knew exactly how to sell it. He didn't just present products, he staged events. He made promises that sounded like prophecies. He projected the absolute certainty of a man who had already seen the future. The Nikola One, he announced at a packed event in December 2016, standing before a gleaming, enormous prototype truck, fully functions and works. This is a real truck. This is not a pusher. For every doubter out there, we've done it. The crowd erupted. There was just one problem. The truck couldn't move. But the world didn't know that. Not yet. What the world saw was something extraordinary. A bold, photogenic entrepreneur standing beside a futuristic truck, promising to change everything. And the world, hungry for the next Tesla, desperate for the next billion-dollar revolution in clean energy, was ready to believe. Pre-orders started flooding in. Trucking companies signed letters of intent. Partnerships were announced. Energy giants circled the company, eager to collaborate on the hydrogen infrastructure Milton promised to build. By 2019, Nikola had become one of the most talked about startups in America. Tech blogs, energy publications, even mainstream business media covered the company with breathless enthusiasm. And then came June 4th, 2020, the SPAC. Instead of going through a traditional initial public offering, with its rigorous scrutiny, months of roadshows, and armies of investment bankers, Nikola chose a different path. A special purpose acquisition company. A shell company already listed on the NASDAQ called Vecto IQ that merged with Nikola and handed it a public listing almost overnight, with no revenue, no working product, no delivery timeline that anyone could verify, but with a story, a magnificent, irresistible story. On day one of trading, the stock opened and began to climb. Then it climbed some more. Within days, it was doubling, tripling, quadrupling. On June 9th, Nikola's market cap briefly surpassed Ford's. Trevor Milton, founder, executive chairman, a man who had built nothing that actually drove, became a billionaire worth more than $12 billion on paper in less than a week. Then on September 8th, 2020, it appeared the dream was going to get even bigger. General Motors, one of the most powerful automakers in the world, announced a $2 billion partnership with Nikola. GM would take an 11% stake in the company. It would build the Nikola Badger pickup truck. It would supply its cutting-edge battery and hydrogen fuel cell technology to the startup. The stock surged another 40% in a single day. Wall Street was euphoric. 2 days later, a report dropped. It came from a small short-selling research firm called Hindenburg Research. The title was unambiguous: Nikola, How to Parlay an Ocean of Lies into a Partnership with the Largest Auto OEM in America. 80 pages, hundreds of supporting documents, text messages, testimonies from former employees. The central allegation: Nikola was, in their words, an intricate fraud built on dozens of lies. The report methodically dismantled virtually every major claim Milton had ever made. The hydrogen filling stations, announced years earlier, non-existent. The proprietary battery technology, based on a deal with a company whose president had been indicted for using NASA expense accounts to hire prostitutes. The solar-powered off-grid headquarters. The satellite images showed no panels on the roof. And then, the video. The Nikola One in motion video. The one that had generated 230,000 views on Facebook alone. The one that showed the Nikola One truck speeding down a desert highway at high speed, apparently fully operational. According to Hindenburg, corroborated by a former employee and the company's own chief engineer, the truck had no working engine, no fuel cell, no drive system. They had towed it to the top of a 3% grade hill in a remote stretch of Utah, tilted the camera to make the road look flat, and simply filmed it rolling downhill, under the power of gravity. Milton's response was immediate. He called it a hit job. He tweeted, "This is all you got?" He promised to respond to every allegation within hours. Then the Nikola board conducted its own internal investigation and quietly concluded that Hindenburg's allegations had merit. On September 20th, 2020, exactly 10 days after the Hindenburg report, Trevor Milton resigned. His statement was brief. The board accepted his resignation immediately. That morning, Nikola's stock opened at $24, down 30% in pre-market trading, more than $2 billion in market capitalization, gone before the New York Stock Exchange even opened. The SEC launched an investigation. The Department of Justice followed. In December 2021, Nikola agreed to pay $125 million to settle SEC fraud charges, not to admit guilt, but to make the case go away. It wasn't enough. In July 2021, a federal grand jury in the Southern District of New York had returned an indictment against Trevor Milton. 3 counts of securities fraud and wire fraud. A 4th count was added in June 2022, related to using Nikola stock to partially pay for a Utah ranch, misrepresenting the company's status to the seller. The trial began in September 2022. Prosecutors laid out the case in brutal detail. Milton had lied, repeatedly and deliberately, to investors. On social media, on podcasts, on television, in print, about the technology, about the orders, about the partnerships, about nearly everything. His own chief financial officer testified that on the first day of trading in June 2020, when the stock dipped $5, Milton was so obsessed with the share price that he thought something was wrong with the NASDAQ itself. On October 14, 2022, the jury found Trevor Milton guilty. 1 count of securities fraud, 2 counts of wire fraud. In December 2023, he was sentenced to 4 years in federal prison. The judge's words were unsparing. As the U.S. Attorney Damian Williams stated, Trevor Milton lied to investors again and again. On social media, on television, on podcasts, and in print. Fake it till you make it is not an excuse for fraud. And if you mislead your investors, you will pay a stiff price. But the story doesn't end there. Because in March 2025, after Nikola had filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, after the stock had been delisted from the NASDAQ, after it had fallen 99% from its peak to trade below 5 cents, President Donald Trump issued a full and unconditional pardon to Trevor Milton. Milton posted a video on Instagram from what appeared to be his car. Oh my gosh, you won't believe what just happened. I just got a call from the President of the United States. I am free. The prosecutors can no longer hurt me. The federal prosecutors had been seeking $680 million in restitution for shareholders. Because of the pardon, not a cent will be paid. The investors who lost their retirement savings, some of them ordinary Americans who had believed in the dream of clean energy and the charisma of one man, will receive nothing. Nikola itself, meanwhile, had filed for bankruptcy in February 2025. The company that once threatened to overtake Ford had, in total, sold approximately 600 trucks since 2022. Its hydrogen fueling network, the high Ella stations Milton had once promised in the hundreds, ceased operations. What remains of Nikola today is being sold off to satisfy creditors in court-supervised proceedings. So what do we take from this? The story of Nikola is not simply the story of a fraud. That would be too easy. It is the story of a market intoxicated by narrative, by the need to find the next Tesla, the next clean energy miracle, the next proof that disruption always wins. Nikola revealed something about how financial markets function in the age of social media and retail investors, that a compelling story, told confidently enough by someone charismatic enough, can be worth $30 billion, at least for a moment. General Motors, one of the most sophisticated industrial companies in the world, was seduced. Institutional investors, retail traders, analysts, the financial press, all of them failed to ask one simple question: can the truck actually drive? The SPAC mechanism, which Nikola helped make famous, was used by dozens of other EV startups in the years that followed. Lordstown, Canoo, Faraday Future, Fisker. Many of them have since collapsed or are fighting to survive. The SEC tightened its rules. The era of blank check companies going public on nothing but dreams effectively ended. Nikola became a cautionary tale, not just for investors, but for an entire system. Because in the end, gravity always wins. Whether it's a truck rolling down a hill in Utah or a $30 billion valuation that was never grounded in reality, what goes up on a lie must always come down. Every market creates its myths, its heroes, and its villains. Its moments of extraordinary greed, extraordinary ambition, and extraordinary delusion. At Market Narratives, we believe that understanding these stories, really understanding them, in all their complexity, is one of the most valuable things an investor, a business person, or simply a curious human being can do. Because the market isn't just numbers and charts. It is human beings making decisions, choosing to believe, choosing to doubt. And the stories behind those decisions are often more extraordinary than anything fiction could produce. If this story made you think, if it made you see markets differently, then we've done our job. There are hundreds of stories just like this one. Companies that rose to impossible heights. Companies that were built on sand. Commodities that moved entire governments. CEOs who changed history, or tried to. This is Market Narratives. Subscribe, because the next story is already being written, and you'll want to be there when it breaks.